What's up, everyone? I've been working here this morning trying to get a few more parts off this car. I unhooked the collector pipe and I am unhooking some of the sensors, oil lines, some more things that are in the way to get this motor out. But anyway, I just saw a few things that I wanted to share with you on this restoration. A couple things I noticed, like I said, this damper bar was bent. But this little bracket here in the middle of the front clip here has been bent, so I need to adjust that. A couple other things I was seeing is this headlight is broke off here. I knew this light was slightly out of position, but I wasn't sure how far. So like I said, I noticed that, as well as some of these brackets down here bent. So I think I'm going to go ahead and start removing some of this front clip and light, maybe this fender as well, just to get a better idea on what the damage is here and to see what all needs to be done. Once we get some of these things more out of the way, it'll be a lot easier just to unhook a lot of these wiring harnesses and hoses and stuff like that on the front of this motor. And it'll help give us room to pull this thing out. I've never removed a VQ before, so this should be interesting. Alright guys, now that we got the front fenders removed, I had to remove the side skirts, get those off. I'm going to start preparing this front clip to come off. This should be the easiest way to remove the motor out of here. So we got a few odds and ends, such as what I believe is the windshield wiper reservoir. And then we got to unhook the wiring harnesses off here, take off the damper, and some of these other brackets so we can begin removing this front clip. Then I'll start working on trying to get the turbo out of here and the wiring harness off. We should be able to unplug the wiring harness from the firewall where it hooks up the ECU in there, so that we can just pull off this whole wiring harness, lay it on top of the motor, and then once we pull the motor out, then we can unattach all the wires where we have easier access to everything. We'll also have to remove the power steering pump and probably the AC compressor, possibly the alternator, before we go ahead and pull this motor out. Alright guys, I decided to take a little bit of a different approach to removing this motor. I did some more research yesterday evening, looking at removing the front clip. The problem with removing the front clip is unhook the AC condenser lines, which means you got to remove the charge from the system. That's best left to professionals. I don't have the tools to do that. It's not something I really want to get into, so I found another way of removing this motor, which involves basically unbolting the lower subframe, and it looks like it should be fairly easy to do. You got to unhook the lower control arms, as well as remove all the coolant lines, unhook the power steering lines, and obviously this car is modified with the turbo, so I just got that off. And then from what I see online, you can unhook the main wiring harness from the ECU and just lay it on top. And after making sure everything else is unhooked, then you can just drop this motor and transmission out from the bottom. So that is going to be my plan of attack on this project. It's Sunday afternoon. I'm trying to get a few hours of work in here before this evening, and then hopefully I can go ahead and find a motor to get it ordered. I'll most likely be working back on the Airbnb again this week, but when I have a chance in between schedules, then I'll be back here working on this. So can't wait to get this car running. Like I said, it's been so long since I've had my own sports car that I can actually work on and modify. And this one is gonna be an absolute beast. I've never owned a car with this much horsepower. I've driven a car that had about this amount of horsepower, but that was a Mustang and it was a lot heavier. So I'm excited and I can't wait to see what this thing can do. Alright guys, it is absolutely freezing out, so I have been working in the garage all day. So check this out. I got all these parts off the car, cleaned up. I polished all the aluminum intercooler piping, cleaned up the strut tower bar, the intercooler piping couplings, the engine cover. I took off these brackets off the front end, which were bent, so that I can get those back into shape. And I got the wiring harness unhooked from the ECU, as well as the fuel lines. I took out the downpipe, as well as the exhaust collector. Pretty much got everything off here. I even took off the windshield wipers and cleaned up all of the dirt and debris that was in here, wiped everything down up there. It was absolutely filthy. So now I have pretty much everything off here, minus the AC compressor and the power steering pump. So now I should be able to just go ahead and unbolt the subframe and transmission in order to drop this motor out. But for now, I'm probably just going to let this thing sit for a little while until I finish up the Airbnb, depending on weather, because I need to take this thing out of the garage to get the Infinity up on the lift to do an oil change. I need to get furniture ordered for the Airbnb and finish up everything down there in order to get it ready for this spring to be rented out. But anyway guys, you know what to do. Be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see more, and stay tuned until next time. And don't forget to keep building that dream. Peace.